The process of hashing data is quite common in security situations in a lot of different places. And so let's talk about what hashing is, and we'll look at some code in just a moment here. Hashing is the process of mapping binary data of a variable length to a fixed size. In other words, we're going to take some sort of plain text data, we're going to hash it, and we're going to come up with a hashed value. And then we'll save the hash value somewhere, and then later on we'll ask someone to enter a password. And what we'll do is we'll hash the password they enter, send the hash function over the network, the hash function that we have stored, and if they're identical, then we know that the user on the other side of the network typed the same password that we hashed when we stored it on our side. Okay, I hope that made sense, but the bottom line is if two identical pieces of data are hashed, they will create the same hash value, and you can compare them. Now, you can always use this to ensure that data has not been tampered or altered, or you can also tell what somebody entered without actually having to see the plain text that they entered. Now, the .NET hashing algorithms all inherit from the system.cryptography.hash algorithm abstract class. Now, the hashing algorithms that are implemented in .NET are SHA-1, or you heard it called SHA-1, SHA-256, SHA-512, SHA-384, MD5, and RIPE MD160. So let's go take a look at some code on hashing to best understand what you can do with this, okay? But notice in Visual Studio 2012, I've created a project called Hashing Example. You'll see this in your work files folder, by the way. And on the form, I put a text box, and I just left it as text box 1. I put a button that's button 1, and I changed the text on the button to hash password. And again, just make sure that you change the text on hash password and not the name. The name is still button 1, okay? Then I put a second text box, a second button, and I changed the text on this button to enter password. And then I dropped a label on, and I just left it as label 1. So let's go write some code, and I'll show you what we're going to do with this. First of all, we're going to add a couple of methods here to hash our values, okay? I'm just going to drop this in and just briefly mention it. You can go through this code and look at it and see what's happening functionally and just kind of play with this. But notice the first thing we're going to do is create a hash. We're going to take some string data, pass it into the compute hash method, and then we're going to instantiate an object SHA off of the hash algorithm class and set it equal to SHA-256. That's the algorithm we're going to use, and we'll call the create method. Then we're going to create a byte array called hash data, and we're going to load it with the compute hash, and you can see we're passing it here, encoding default get bytes data for the data that was passed in, and then we're going to return the hash data right here that's loaded, and we're going to convert it to base 64 string. Okay, then to verify it later, I'm going to show you, we're just going to return a Boolean. But we're going to go back through that data again. We're going to look at the actual hashed value, all right? And we're going to compare it to what we had hashed before. We're going to take the password that they enter and hash it and compare it to the other hash that we have and see if they match. It'll make sense in just a moment, okay? Getting squigglies here because we have to do a using statement up here. Using system.security.cryptography, and that will give us access to the classes that we need, and those will go away. Okay, what we're going to do, if you press button 1, we are simply going to take whatever we type in text box 1, we're going to pass it to compute hash, and when it comes back, we're going to load that into hashed password, then we're going to load that right back into text box 1. So we're going to replace text box 1 with a hashed value. Okay, then I'm going to go back out here, double click on button 2, and on the event handler for button 2, we're going to do something else kind of cool, and that is we are going to type a password in text box 2, all right, and we are going to compare this. We're going to do a verify hash, the password that was entered in text box 2, and compare it to our hashed password from before, and we're going to see if they matched, okay? And notice when we call our verify hash, we're going to pass these two things in there. Okay. Now, to make this happen, I'm going to go up here and add a string so I can save these. Whoop, one moment. And I'm going to add that up here at the class level, okay? So notice outside all the methods. And I'm creating a string called hashed password and password entered, okay? And so in button 2, when they enter a password, we're going to collect that, then we're going to compare them, okay? So the best way to understand this is let's watch it run. Now you can go back, look through that code, and look through some of the documentation. So let's hash a password. First one, password is Mark Long. We will hash that, and there's the hash value. Notice it's a little longer than what I can see here, okay? And then down here now, on the other end of the network maybe, put in your password. I'll put in Mark Long. We will verify it, and it matched. I can tell by this. Notice if I take the G alpha here and try to verify them, the values do not match, okay? So let's take one more run at this right quick. I'm running out of time fast here, but let's kick this off again and do it very simple. I'm going to pass ABC, there's the hash value, and at this time if I pass ABC back and we compare those, notice they match. If I type ABCDE, we can tell the two hashes don't match, and we can tell that the password entered here is not the password that was entered here. Okay, so that's a real quick look at hashing. Play with that, get your head wrapped around it, and that should help you in the exam and in the real world as well.